This is commentary on Lesson 95 in the Workbook for A Course in Miracles. I'm one self united with my Creator. Um, Today there's an emphasis on the process of learning that we're going through and the lack of or the need for mind training and what's needed in that mind training. And it's addressing the issue of our inability to have sustained concentration on the ideas that the course presents to us. And so what the course does to address that is, rather than having longer practice periods where it's difficult for us to concentrate, we're having shorter and frequent practice periods. And from there, we can build the mental discipline we need for the concentration, for the holding on to what these ideas mean and their value, and and through that understanding, we come to a sense of its value. Um, it also says that organizing our learning in terms of regularity of time is not the ideal requirement, but it's most advantageous to do it because our motivation is inconsistent and we're defended against learning. So let's just look at motivation theory or learning theory and motivation. Um, in learning, all that we really need to do is build up our motivation to learn. And that's a process. In the course, our cognitive processes work like this. First, there's a process of valuation. We value something. And once we've valued it, then we want it. And if we want something, then we believe in it. And if we believe in something, that will be what our perceptions are. And what our perceptions will be, that's what our experience is. So um, when we when we're really clear about the value of what we're trying to learn, then we'll be motivated to learn it. And so the only way that we'll get in touch with the value of it is twofold. Is first recognizing the value and how little value an ego sense of self has, and then recognizing how great the value is of our true loving self. And once we can be aware of how valuable that true self is, then our motivation is increased, and our motivation to learn is increased. So that's a big emphasis in today's lesson. So I'm one self united with my Creator. Today's idea accurately describes you as God created you. You are one within yourself and one with Him. Yours is the unity of all creation. Your perfect unity makes change in you possible. In other words, there is just this loving self. That's all that there is. The ego self is the illusion. We're just that one self. You do not accept this and you fail to realize it must be so only because you believe that you've changed yourself already. All right, that's the Course's idea of the separation, that we changed what God created perfect, and the lack and the fear and the guilt we feel is there inside of us. So you see yourself as a ridiculous parody on God's creation, weak, vicious, ugly and sinful, miserable and beset with pain. Such is your version of yourself, a self divided into many warring parts, separate from God, tenaciously held together by its erratic and capricious maker to which you pray. It does not hear your prayers, for it is deaf. Now we're talking about the ego, it does not see the oneness in you, for it is blind. It does not understand you are the Son of God, for it is senseless and understands nothing. So, the common phrase of who's your daddy? Well, that's the basic question the Course is saying we're always asking. So either the ego, who we made, is making us, or we are what our Creator created us to be. And the reason the ego is insane, or there's this insanity in the mind, is that we made up the ego and we forgot that, and now the ego seems to be making us. And that's why it's just crazy. because it's not there. It's something we made up, but we think this self is just there. It's just happening and influenced by everything around it, except this decision to be an ego. So we will attempt today to be aware only of what can hear and see and what makes perfect sense. We will again direct our exercises towards reaching your one self, which is united with its creator. In patience and in hope, we try again today. So that's a mental attitude we're talking about in practice. We need to be patient with ourselves and have the idea of hope inside of us. It's really important to have that sense of hopefulness and patience with ourselves. Okay, so the use of the first 5 minutes of every waking hour for practicing the idea for the day has special advantages at the stage of learning in which you are at present. It is difficult at this point not to allow your mind to wander if it undertakes extended practice. You have surely realized this by now. You have seen the extent of your lack of mental discipline and of your need for mind training. It is necessary that you be aware of this, for it is indeed a hindrance to your advance. Frequent but shorter practice periods have other advantages for you at this time. In addition to recognizing your difficulties with sustained attention, you must have noticed that unless you are reminded of your purpose frequently, you tend to forget about it for long periods of time. You often fail to remember the short applications of the idea for the day, and you have not yet formed the habit of using the idea as an automatic response to temptation. Structure, then, is necessary for you at this time. Plan to include frequent reminders of your goal and regular attempts to reach it. So structure, is really introducing this now. We've been into 95 lessons because the Course realizes our fundamental problem is what the Course calls the authority problem. Like, who's our author, right? And that and the whole idea of the ego, is the ego our author or is God our author, is a issue of authorship or authority. And so when we have an authority issue, we have an issue of defending ourself against our author, our true author. So that's so it's referring to that kind of resistance there, here. So structure then is necessary for you at this time. Plan to include frequent reminders of your goal and regular attempts to reach it. Regularity in terms of time is not the ideal requirement for the most beneficial form of practice in salvation. It is advantageous, however, for those whose motivation is inconsistent and who remain heavily defended against learning. We will therefore keep to the 5 minutes an hour practice periods for a while and urge you to admit as few as possible. Using the first 5 minutes of the hour will be particularly helpful since it imposes firmer structure. Do not, however, use your lapses from this schedule as an excuse not to return to it again as soon as you can. There may well be a temptation to regard the day as lost because you've already failed to do what is required. This should, however, be merely recognized as what it is, a refusal to let the mistake be corrected and an unwillingness to try again. The Holy Spirit is not delayed in His teaching by your mistakes. He can be held back only by your unwillingness to let them go. Let us therefore be determined, particularly for the next week or so, to be willing to forgive ourselves for lapses in diligence and our failures to follow the instructions for practicing the day's idea. This tolerance for weakness will enable us to overlook it rather than to give it power to delay our learning. If we give it power to do this, we're regarding it as a strength and are confusing strength with weakness. Okay, so when you fail to comply with the requirements of this course, you merely made a mistake. This calls for correction and for nothing else. To allow a mistake to continue is to make additional mistakes based on the first and reinforcing it. It is this process that must be laid aside, for it is but another way in which you would defend delusions against the truth. Okay, so this whole idea of regret is just a delaying maneuver when we disappointed in ourselves. Well, I didn't accomplish this, I didn't do this. That's just a negative way of reinforcing that very mistake and a way to avoid changing it. So we don't want to get caught up in judging ourselves because we haven't done the course right. That's really key, and learning to, it's one of the ways to learn to forgive ourselves, so we didn't do it. Okay, big deal. Move on. All right, let all these errors go by recognizing them for what they are. They are attempts to keep you unaware you are one self, united with your Creator, at one with every aspect of creation, and limitless in power and in peace. This is the truth, and nothing else is true. Today we will affirm this truth again and try to reach the place in you in which there is no doubt that only this is true. Begin the practice periods today with this assurance offered to your mind with all the certainty that you can give. I am one self, united with my Creator, at one with every aspect of creation, and limitless in power and in peace. Then close your eyes and tell yourself again slowly and thoughtfully, attempting to allow the meaning of the words to sink into your mind, replacing these ideas. So this is just, we take this really literally. We say it slowly and thoughtfully, allowing the meaning of the words to sink into our mind, replacing this false idea of ourselves. I am one self. Repeat this several times and then attempt to feel the meaning that the words convey. I am one self. We let that go deep inside the mind. You are one self, united and secure in light and joy and peace. You are God's Son, one self, with one Creator and one goal. To bring awareness of this oneness to all minds, the true creation may extend the allness and the unity of God. You are one self, complete and healed and whole, with power to lift the veil of darkness from the world and let the light in you come through to teach the world the truth about yourself. You are one self in perfect harmony with all there is and all there will be. You are one self, the Holy Son of God, united with all your brothers in that self, united with your Father in His will. Feel this self in you and let it shine away all your illusions and your doubts. This is yourself, the Son of God Himself, sinless as its Creator, and with His strength within you and His love forever yours. You are one self, and it is given you to feel this self within you, to cast all illusions out of the one mind that is this self, the holy truth in you. And so here's a motivation for us, recognizing that the world needs us to bring this happiness in. And this is our role, is to demonstrate this self to the world so they know that it's possible. So it's saying, do not forget today. And if we do, we don't want to feel guilty about that. We don't want to judge ourselves for that. We want to see that we're giving power to that mistake when we judge it, and just let it go and try again. So do not forget today. We need your help, your little part in bringing happiness to all the world. And heaven looks to you in confidence that you will try today. Share then its surety, for it is yours. Be vigilant. Do not forget today. Throughout the day, do not forget your goal. Repeat today's idea as frequently as possible, and understand each time you do so, someone hears the voice of hope, the stirring of the truth within his mind, the gentle rustlings of the wings of peace. Now that's, if you remember, we started out with miracles are seen in the light. The light is strength, and that strength is our sinlessness. And it characterized that strength as coming from our Creator in all of creation. And so our understanding when we practice today is that we're joining that oneness. We're joining everything that is. And that when we do this practice, we're not doing it alone. It doesn't just have effects on us. It's our silent, unknowing, seemingly unknown, but it's there. It's a demonstration. And when we do this, because we are connected to all minds, we're helping teach everyone else as we're learning. Okay, so Repeat today's idea. This is just a beautiful idea. This will help motivate us. Repeat today's idea as frequently as possible and understand each time you do, someone hears the voice of hope, the stirring of truth within his mind, the gentle rustlings of the wings of peace. Right? And what did it say up here? Uh, and heaven looks to you in confidence that you will try again. So we're connected to heaven, all creation, as we do this, and we are being that demonstration as we practice. Your own acknowledgement that you are one self united with your Father is a call to all the world to be at one with you. To everyone you meet today, be sure to give the promise of today's idea and tell him this. Now, this isn't something we necessarily would do in words. In fact, probably would do it silently. But whenever we're with anybody, we want to apply this idea to them and say, you are one self with me, united with our Creator in this self. I honor you because of what I am and what He is, who loves us both as one. So this gives us an opportunity to practice all day long, that whoever we're with, we can apply this idea to them. We can hold them in our minds as we're interacting with them, and we can say in our minds, you are one self with me, united with our Creator in this self. I honor you because of what I am and what He is, and who loves us both as one. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you.